The Western geopolitical strategy aimed at diverting Russia's attention and resources away from its growing influence in Africa. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more interesting insights. 1. The growing power of Russia in Africa. In the Sahel, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and other countries, where anti-Western sentiment is on the rise, Russia has been strengthening its military, economic, and political connections with a number of African countries. These nations have been rejecting American military involvement and driving out French personnel, instead looking to Russia for security alliances via the Wagner Group and direct government agreements. This change undercuts the power of the West, particularly the United States and France, in a strategically significant and resource-rich area. 2. Interest in the West in danger. Francophone Africa's economic and security structures have long been dominated by the United States and France. It is a serious setback to lose political clout and military installations to Russia. Russia's African expansion is seen by Western nations as a threat to their global hegemony, especially as Moscow fortifies its ties with anti-Western governments. 3. Are the increasing attacks in Ukraine a diversion? Ukraine may be trying to get Moscow to reallocate military resources from Africa back to its own borders by launching powerful missile strikes deep inside Russia, such as Belgorod, Crimea, and energy infrastructure. Russia's capacity to maintain its African alliances is weakened if it is forced to take troops, weapons, or money away from African operations in order to protect its own territory. Keeping Russia mired in Ukraine restricts its ability to project globally, which is in line with Western interests. For coordination between Ukraine and the West, the United States and Europe have provided Ukraine with weapons, information, and authorization to attack Russian territory. Increasing the intensity of strikes can be a planned attempt to limit Russia's strategic adaptability. Western influence in the Sahel is weakened because a preoccupied Russia is less able to support its partners in Africa. 5. The Russian predicament. Russia runs the risk of losing ground in the Sahel, where coups and anti-French sentiment have created opportunities for Moscow. It had put its defense above its obligations to Africa. On the other hand, disregarding Ukrainian strikes would encourage more assaults, harming military logistics and domestic morale. Intentionally or unintentionally, the Ukrainian strikes might be used as a strategic diversion to undermine Russia's aspirations in Africa. This is in line with larger Western objectives to maintain their own supremacy in resource-rich areas like the Sahel while limiting Russian influence. Africa is now becoming a crucial front in this proxy conflict, and the geopolitical chessboard stretches well beyond Ukraine. More than only military tactics are involved in the recent Ukrainian missile attacks on Russian targets, including military installations, vital oil refineries, and even early warning radar systems. They are part of a broader Western strategy to counter Russia's expanding power in Africa, especially in the Sahel, where Moscow has been using anti-French sentiment to increase its economic and military presence. Below is a summary of the main dynamics at work. 1. France and the United States face direct danger from Russia's African expansion. Russia's approach to Africa, especially the Sahel, is centered on military partnerships. As Moscow signs formal defense agreements, the Wagner Group, now primarily under the direct authority of the Russian MOD, offers protection to juntas in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. Resource extraction. French-dominated mining sectors are undermined as Russia obtains access to vital minerals, such as uranium and gold in return for security. Anti-Western narratives. Presenting itself as a decolonizing ally, Russia promotes propaganda portraying France and the United States as neo-colonial exploiters. Effect on the West. France's loss. More than 5,000 French soldiers were driven out of Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali. France's economic hold, via mining contracts in the CFA franc, is eroding. U.S. military expulsions. In order to close a vital drone base used for counterterrorism in the Sahel, Niger has ordered the evacuation of 1,000 U.S. personnel. Geopolitical shift. NATO's entire African security framework would fall apart if Chad, the final French stronghold, were to fall. 2. Why Russia in Africa is affected by Ukraine's escalation. Ukraine, supported by the West, is subtly undermining Moscow's African aspirations in a number of ways by driving Russia into a defensive posture at home. A. Depleting military assets. cheap weapons, mercenaries, and air defense systems, such as MiG-29s and Panzer S-1 systems, which were given to Mali, have been provided by Russia to its African partners. Moscow may now have to redirect weaponry intended for Africa back to its own defenses after Ukraine attacked Russian oil terminals and supply routes. B. Economic strain. Fuel exports, a vital source of income for financing African activities, have been severely reduced as a result of sanctions and Ukrainian drone assaults on Russian facilities. Russia cannot afford to support African juntas through arms deals and subsidies if its economy contracts. C. Distraction in diplomacy. Putin's administration is compelled to prioritize internal security over diplomatic relations with Africa. As the U.S. pursues Senegal and Côte d'Ivoire, France is already attempting to mend relations with Chad, giving the West time to reorganize. 3. Western countermoves. How France and the United States are retaliating. The West is implementing its own African counter-strategy in addition to depending on Ukraine to undermine Russia. A. Strategies for regime survival. To stop a complete Russian takeover, France is trying to renegotiate military agreements with Mahamat Devi, the interim leader Chad, after losing the Sahel. The United States is shifting its focus to coastal West Africa, including Senegal, Ghana, and Côte d'Ivoire, in order to continue counterterrorism operations. B. Warfare with information. In an effort to damage Russia's reputation as a liberator, Western media and non-governmental organizations are promoting stories about Wagner crimes in Africa, like as the massacres in Mali. France is promoting narratives that associate Wagner with an increase in Islamist assaults in Mali, arguing that Russian involvement leads to instability rather than security. C. Sabotage of the economy. Wagner-affiliated mining operations in Mali and the CAR are subject to U.S. sanctions. France is urging the EU to prohibit the importation of Russian gold from Africa. 4. The wider view, an international power battle. This is about changing the global order, not only about Africa or Ukraine. Russia aims to form an alliance of anti-American states, Africa plus BRICS, in order to challenge Western hegemony. To stop Russia from expanding further around the world, the West must keep it enmeshed in Ukraine. Africa serves as a battlefield. If Russia unifies the Sahel, it will have a stable base from which to threaten Europe and seize vital resources. Stay tuned for more details. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or more.